welcome back to me, welcome back to True Blue Thai. I hope you're doing well. It's here in Thailand. It's 1 put here in Thailand, which is Wednesday, and it's in the morning. The neighbour, as I said, majority of everybody's gone back after the holiday, the Queen's birthday, for instance, everybody's gone back to work, but we got one of the neighbours is actually cutting down, he's using his strimmer. And they have, rather than these quiet strimmers, they have these big diesel ones. So if you hear a lot of in the next 20 minutes or so, for instance, do apologise. For instance, it's I'm hoping that, for instance, it won't affect the sound of me. But I doubt it. If I shout loud enough. Anyway, so I hope you're doing well. So it's again, it's where do you start? Yeah. I was sat there, if you look at my streams, I've always sat there and said a big question mark. And people were talking about getting Rodrygo and Savinho, and I said to myself, etc., the biggest issue we have right now is at the back, etc., with the right back and also the goalkeeping situation, and still it's not been cleared up. And again, the rumours about Edison, for instance, have not gone away from Galatasaray, for instance, and the Turkish, bap, 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 and I said, if you're going to put up or shut up. But it appears that now they've put up. So it appears that now they've decided to phony up the dough and going to offer Edison like a 3-year contract. So, so it looks like a 3-year contract, which I've got written down here somewhere. And and it's like whoa. But then it's just like the Savinho and Rodrygo. And we'll talk about them in a minute. For instance, Savinho's going, Rodrygo, Man City going, Rodrygo. It's like, whoa. And it's like we don't want to mess around, do we? And now it appears that Donnarumma, it looks like he's, according to the reports, that Donnarumma has actually agreed personal terms with Manchester City. What? This is at a time when Luis Enrique, for instance, has come out and said, listen, we're moving on from Donnarumma, I'm going through a different direction, don't want him to leave, they're trying to keep him. But Donnarumma said, listen, I'm not staying, I'm playing, I'm going. And if you're not, it's supposed to be on, I think it was on 10 million a year, and for instance, so he's not... so he's not just going to start again. Look, is it really? You hear? Right, okay. So hopefully it shouldn't be too bad. Anyway, but it appears that, for instance, Donnarumma is, for instance, it appears that he's been underpaid, as it were. I think 10 million euros was... for instance, it works out about $1 million, so that's £86,000 pounds a week or something like that, if I can work out correctly. So, for instance, which is quite low, really, for a goalkeeper. So, but so he's come out and and they were talking about legal action from Donnarumma's camp now. So yeah, it's all kicking off yesterday, but it appears that he's also agreed personal terms with Manchester City. So. Whoa! Where United, we're all talking about them getting him, or going to United, and suddenly he's going to Man City. He's already created. It just goes to show you that, for instance, a lot of these deals are not just straight, like City, a lot, a lot of these deals are just not, deals which are basically what's called are just come out of the blue. As I think they're coming out of the blue for us, but I think they're all the plans are laid bare a long time ago, for a player. And and I just think, for instance, so he's agreed personal terms, but he's also making statements and talking about it. What's it called in France in the PSG, and feels a bit upset because he's now being forced out, as it were, but being number 2 or whatever. But also they give the impression they don't want him to go. So, but also he's agreeing to personal terms with Man City. So and when did they speak to Man City? So it must have been a while ago. Ronaldo, and it appears that, according to reports, that, for instance, he's already spoken to Pep Guardiola. So what? He's like, yeah. So, for instance, and so that other thing come out. So it looks like there's a bid is actually going to come in for Edison to go, and he was keen to go to Galatasaray, and we're going to get Donnarumma. And I was actually surprised by his age as well. I was looking at ESPN this morning when they did a bio, and I thought he was quite young. So, for instance, maybe look at big 6'5", bearded giant, etc. For instance, but he's a player, for instance, who's doing very, very well, but he's always still very young, and he's got a lot to learn. The biggest issue, a lot of people are saying, and on ESPN they were talking about it, and blah blah blah, is that, for instance, he can't play out from his play out from the back. And they did a big Neda Manua was on ESPN and just before, and he was talking about the fact that he's not a Pep player, he's not going to go to Man City because he can't play out the back, Pep like player. And they go back to the fact that Joe Hart was given those marching orders at Man City, and Claudio Bravo, who they brought in, because they couldn't play out from the back. Now they're talking about Donnarumma, for instance, who can't play out the back. But I remember I was also, again, I do my research, I was actually listening to the LB on the for instance on the football terrace yesterday, and one of the Manchester's biggest issues, you could say, is our defence. And before, when we won the treble, all the defenders, we had John Stones and Nathan Aki and blah blah blah, were prime defenders, and we had a prime right back in Kyle Walker. And then appears that, for instance, now we don't, for instance, our defence is sceptical, is touchable, whatever. And a lot of people saying Edison's great at playing out the back, absolutely one of the best. And also his assist to Erling Haaland, etc. Is absolutely sublime. But one thing people also question Edison, is the mere fact that he can't save a penalty, where Donnarumma can. And also, for instance, he's not a very good shot stopper. I could do comparing him to Ortega. So there was two. So So you're looking at now at that fact that is this guy good enough to, for instance, is it good enough? Can he make up for the mistakes which the defence is? Are we changing our philosophy? And I do think Man City have a philosophy of playing out from the back. We actually go into now, because we need to be solid at the back, and we also need a solid shot stopper. And is this guy going to be that person? So, for instance, because we need to not concede goals, and we conceded a lot of goals last season, etc., from transitions, etc. And but it is important that, for instance, we need to be solid, and we need a good shot stopper. So, and this guy is that, and he saves in the Champions League final last season. And this guy can save a penalty, and this guy can, but he's not very good at playing out from the back. But again, we might have a different way of doing that. Now, people are also then going and saying, what about poor old James Trafford? Now, I'm going to say this, and our listeners will be there, and there's a lot of people kicking off about James Trafford and blah, blah, blah. James Trafford was playing for Burnley in the Champions League Championship, and then now he's coming to play, for Manchester City. His wild club, his cup, and City fan, and whatever, he's coming out, brilliant, right? He can't be more happier, right? But he's also he's got to go and get on competition. We don't know how he's going to do. Even though he was fantastic in the Championship last season, his first season was good in the Premier League, etc. He wasn't very good. Now you could talk about the players in front of him, etc. There you go. But so he's going to learn. Now, where would you want to learn your best, the top of the trade? Now, everybody talks about he came back to Manchester City to play, to be number one because Edison was leaving. But again, Manchester City are not a crappy little team, etc. For instance, where that always happens. These are things of past. if you're going to play, and you look at Savinho as well, you know, in the reason there's no guaranteed places at a Premier League, a top Premier League football club, right? Look at Rodrygo, what's it called, at Real Madrid, okay? Savinho at Man City, you could say, right? You can't, just because you know, for instance, you're playing, just don't mean that you're automatically starting lineup. Now, for instance, so but with you know, like, so you've got to be the best of the best. So if James Trafford is coming, right? First of all, he's going. If he's dropping straight directly in, I think it was a bit unfair. So, but he's going to be also, you know, you could say that Donnarumma hasn't played in the Premier League. So I think it's going to be, and there are, and somebody actually put a tweet out, what's it called, and said, these guys are adults. These knows what, you know, for instance, they're not stupid, not kids. And for instance, if James Trafford is going to be playing with Donnarumma, Edison, Donnarumma, you know, like, for, you know, my Christ, you could, what, you know, it's like going from what's it called, you know, a 10 person lawyer firm up to, you know, the best in the, you know, the best in the business, etc. You know, and you're going to have competition, but you're also going to be learning from competition. You're also learning from Pep Guardiola, learning from you know, what's it called, from Manchester City. You know, he's at the top table now. He's going to have to turn up, but he also, for instance, he's going to maybe have to have a competition, and competition is going to make him better. And it all depends if cream rises to the top. And if he's a great goalkeeper, which we expect him to be so, and so, for instance, he will come to the top. So he may not start every game. Donnarumma might not start every game, depending on how he fits into the Premier League. It's not always a guarantee. It's a fantastic a goalkeeper. You would say that one, a hell of a goalkeeper. But the fact is also, he's also a very young man. He's only in his 20s, in 25, I believe. So, you know, and again, so I don't think we need to stop with the nonsense about James Trafford is going to blah 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 whatever. He's, you know, it's going to be, will be competition, and you know, and as long as, and I'm sure Donnarumma doesn't expect to waltz into Manchester City to start, you know, to be number one, and so regardless, and if he does, etc., he's got an ego. Again, so you know, he's got to respect the fact that, you know, you don't know. And also, if I was James Trafford, I would want to learn and sit on the bench. No, because again, with Man City played a lot of football games, and people talk about, oh well, you know, he won't play. Well, you don't know that. Again, Man City play a lot of football games, the Premier League, Champions League, League Cup, the FA Cup. You know, honestly, for Christ's sake, there's a lot of football games, and not every goalkeeper. And maybe they'll intertwine it. We'll see how Donnarumma starts. See how James Trafford starts. You know, it's not always written in steel. You can't. It's not on FIFA. It's not. You can't just write it down. So no, I'm sorry, I'm not having it at all. So, but you know, James Trafford I think would learn from Donnarumma. So I think it'd be a great move. if we can get it done. So, but So it's Galatasaray has reached agreement with us for a 3-year contract, £8 million a season. That's not really going for much. There's no agreement in. There's still no agreement. City want 7. Galatasaray for 7 million. City want 13. So, but I think they'll probably meet in the middle. So, but I expecting him to leave. But which is a shame, really. But these things, I think it's a good thing. Now let's go to the Rodrygo thing. Now it appears that Rodrygo, he scored last night. He came on the 81st minute. Sorry, the 61st minute, 60 odd minute. As didn't start, and he scored yesterday. Scored yesterday. Nice little against Tyrol, for instance. A team expected to win, just like Man City expected to beat Palermo, but a little bit better, better opposition. Only Real Madrid's only Premier League friendly. Pre-season friendly, and they won it quite comfortably. 2 goals from Mbappe, another goal, and then Rodry came on and scored. But you know, for instance, and after a bit of depovers from a guy, moved it to the left, etc., and he put it in the back of the net. Good goal. So, for instance, and but by the looks of it, for instance, and LB, if we go back to LB, for instance, I just chat with this girl called Maria. Maria, and he got her on a video vlog, and it appears that, for instance, this was done a while ago. This transfer to Manchester City. It appears that, for instance, they met in a tunnel one day, and Rodrygo was overwhelmed with Pep Guardiola and everything. So it appears that, for instance, it's been brewing for a while. And but again, there's a positional play. He's going playing on the right. He wants to play on the left. Doku's on the left, but he can also play right. But that was his original plan. But I don't know. Let's see. We'll sort it out. But yeah, and I can't see Man City paying 86 million euros for him, pounds for him, or €1 million. So, but we'll see. But by the looks of it, for instance, he's not happy to leave, just like Donnarumma. But again. Looks like if we get a beat, Spurs pony up the dough to get, for instance, if they pony up the dough to get, for instance, Savinho out of Manchester City, because they've only offered 50 million euros, which is paltry, typical Spurs. And if Man City, then Man City will get him. So for instance, I'm happy to see him, as long as people say he's got a bit of an attitude, a bit of a child. But again, you could sort of say Savinho's got the same, because he's moaning about moving on because he's not getting, or he's got alternate. It's his first season at Man City, and they were talking about Manchester City's now talking about our own due diligence with Savinho, and because we always do this and we make certain the players have got the right attitude before they join the club. And it appears that, for instance, everybody was fooled into the fact that this guy wanted to play Man City. I love playing Man City again, Man City, and he played okay in a bad Man City side last season. Everybody expected he was going to kick on, and now he's decided that, for instance, that and I don't know how Spurs are getting this information. It's like the Morgan Gibbs White nonsense, where they're getting this information and how to tap up Savinho. How do we know he's unhappy? So where they're getting this information, nobody's talking about that at the moment. And so they've offered him because they've lost Madison, etc. So, if they want him, they got to give us the cash, and they can give us the cash that can put that towards the, for instance, the Rodrygo go. So I'm okay with the deal, both of the deals. If for instance, we're not going to get, we don't. Because my concern is the stats between what Rodrygo does for Madrid to, for instance, Savinho. We're talking about much experienced player, much person further along in his footballing career compared to where Savinho is, which is an up and coming player, but. So we're getting we want our title back, basically. So to get in a proper guy, for instance, who can make a game changer, can be a game changer. So for instance, I think that makes more sense if we want our title back and we got to wrestle Liverpool and Arsenal. So I just find that it would be a good idea, for instance, to bring this guy in, but I am wary of his attitude, and if he's insisting on playing. So if he doesn't play, is he going to kick off? That's what bothers me. Right, let's move on a little bit more. Jack, good luck, Jack, in Everton. There was a chat with Bernardo Silva, which was really interesting, which I might talk about tomorrow because I want to give it credit. And so Bernardo Silva has been talking about, and people are questioning Bernardo Silva and his attitude towards to Man City, whether it's going to be the captain. But he talks about him being a winner. How he also talks about the Spurs game and how we all went tits up, basically what's going on for the Spurs game. So after Man City playing Spurs, we were top of the league at the one time last season, and then after the Spurs game, the League Cup, etc., he said we had no defenders, and that it went downhill from there, and it did. Man City were quite happy to come out of the League Cup, but we didn't realise the drop off. That we were going on a shocking run, and everything would drop off from there. And so that we had no defenders. So it was a very interesting chat from Bernardo Silva. So I want to give it credence, and I wanted to read it tomorrow. So we'll do that tomorrow. But but other than that, looks like the deal for Macatee to go into Forrest could be up to £30 million. which will probably be more up to Manchester City's asking price. So I expect that one to go through quite soon. They're also sniffing around Rico Lewis. So Forrest wanted Rico Lewis from Man City, but I don't think Man City want to entertain it. And so I'll be glad when this drive is closer. Don't want to lose any more players. But so it's interesting. What can I say? one minute, you can't turn off your telephone or your computer or whatever without something happening. So I always put my question. I always said, is Ederson committed? Is he going to stay? And I get the impression from City fans, and from what I saw from this, he wasn't. And I thought, the Turkish get talking about they're going to make the move, and now finally they've done so. So let's get rid of Ederson. Let's get him gone. Thank you, Ederson, for what you've done. But let's get Donnarumma in, and then regardless of that, then Ederson and Trafford can fight it out. Donnarumma and Trafford can fight it out. To be number one, etc. for the season, and then hopefully we can actually start put a close on the worry about the goalkeeping situation. And I think, for instance, he's only a young lad, Donnarumma. Maybe he can learn, from Pep Guardiola how to play out from the back, But we'll see. But a lot to talk about. But I want to talk about Bernardo Silva, what he's been saying, because he's said a lot. He's a bad loser and he wants to win. And he's determined to get it back, and if there's one captain, and I believe in this him. Just whole things puts to me more confident that we're going to win the league next season, 100%. I just feel that way now. I think we're doing what we need to deal with. We're still one non-homegrown player too many. But I believe Kovacic won't be back until October. So if we take him out of the not playing the Champions League. Can play in the Premier League but not in the Champions League. I think that's sorted. But I think he'll accept that basically. We're going to stay at City. So, but we'll see. But anyway, guys, I'm going to love you and leave you. Lots to talk about. It's so exciting at the moment. Not so long now between the Premier start of the Premier League now. So we just don't know. It's great to be a Blue at the moment. It really is. Always. And so really looking forward to seeing what's going to happen tomorrow. So great, guys, going to leave you True Blue Tie from Thailand. Have a really good day, and I'll speak to you tomorrow for the next exciting news at Manchester City.